Jet does outsmart us. Let's see if they've done it again.
And spawning over in the bottom left, representing Alpha X, it is Astrea. The double gas opening for Astrea. I don't think this was a 12 pylon 13 gate by any means, but this is odd, right?
It is definitely a bit different. Taking both assimilators before dropping a Nexus, also getting a second pylon. So is this going to be cybernetics core? Might just try to chrono boost out a couple of gateway units, run to the other side of the map and apply some pressure, but you can also do that with one gas and still expanding. And obviously if he wanted to go for something crazy like Void Race, then we wouldn't build that second pylon in the natural, unless we are going for the most convincing fake of all time. But the SCV will still just get into the main base. So I don't know, Benjamin. I am drawing a blank. I do not know what's going on in the great mind of Astrea.
I mean, we did talk about this being a bit of a crazy region, right? I just expected it to be MaSa being the more crazy one. And MaSa does SCV Scout. That's a large gas bank for Astrea. Oh, a sentry first of all things. I mean, that's one way to use your gas.
This is actually kind of a funny build coming out of Astrea, because if you take a look at his vision, he has seen absolutely nothing other than, like, his main is natural. Imagine a world where MaSa would have done something that MaSa is perfectly capable of, and that is proxying a barracks with a couple of marauders in concussive shells. Doesn't this game just end?
Actually, Kevin, if he proxied anything whatsoever, I think this game just ends. Like, the fact that this is a sentry into a second sentry into a robo of all things. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, can you imagine if there was a proxy Rax and then like a Reaper turned up or whatever? This would have been very problematic.
And yeah, you would have gone for double Reaper, something that some Terran players actually do. Imagine two Reapers versus one sentry dies, second sentry pops, also dies. Astrea playing perhaps with a bit of fire. Now, the upside of his build is that he is going to get a very quick hallucinated Phoenix to the other side of the map, and that's going to give him the heads up that I think he was definitely praying for. And that is, as MaSa, his buildings are at home, and it is going to be a 1-1-1 opening, of course, with a second command center for our Canadian Terran player. But MaSa is a bit surprised to see a hallucinated Phoenix in his base 3 minutes and 20 seconds in. It's like, well, that's real early.
Yeah, like, if I'm MaSa right now, when, you know, he is an aggressive Terran, people know he's been a bit crazy. Like, I think in a lot of people's minds, they'll never forget him proxy 2-Raxing Scarlet, maybe like 7 times in a row. So the fact that if I had a hallucinated Phoenix appear in my base at like the 3-minute mark, I'd be like, do you have no respect for me? Like, I am a crazy, crazy Terran. Oh, what's this going to be? I wonder. Maybe a fusion core? Maybe an armory? Who knows?
Could be an armory, could be a fusion core. We do have a Liberator first. It is going to be a fusion core. My good, I haven't seen advanced ballistics as an opening in forever, Ben. Is this a good map for it?
Like, I'm looking at the map. I guess you could get behind like the natural and third base and do some stuff, maybe even the main. I mean, the fact that he's pulling it out would imply that he's probably tested it and probably thinks it's quite good. But,
I mean,
yeah,
there is always
weird.
a spot that Stalkers can attack, right? There is not going to be a moment where a Stalker can't attack at all, or do you think there is?
I think there might be spots where they can't, you know. Kevin, this is why I love to cast NA, man, because this could legitimately be very good. I just have no clue whether it is.
Now, Astrea has scouted a little bit, and I think he did see that Liberator, but he obviously has absolutely no idea about the fusion core in the top right side, and the advanced ballistics are on the way. You know, the other day we were talking a little bit, we were like, oh, something changed. Obviously, one of the things that did change, actually, it was me and Wiley. Sorry, Ben, I didn't include you. One of the things that did change is that a while ago, you had to research advanced ballistics on a tech lab that was connected to a starport. That is no longer the case. This Liberator, though, is not going to have advanced ballistics yet. You really don't want to lose it. He's going to eat a lot of shots, but he won't lose it.
I'm looking at this, like that big... In fact, is that like a fake missile turret thing? Like, as part of the map? Maybe if the Liberator sets up behind that, it can actually hit the third without being shot.
I feel like one Stalker will be able to attack, no?
I like, how close can they get? I'm not sure, man. Like, I'm looking at this now and I'm like, I am looking forward to seeing this work.
I can only assume that he has tested it, and that, or it will just be one stalker. But if you siege up 2 liberators and it's one stalker at a time trying to kill 2 liberators, that's going to be an absolute nightmare too. Astrea, meanwhile, is getting 6 extra gateways and a Colossus, and he will probably think that this is going totally fine because he hasn't been losing any probes. Advanced ballistics is ready. Can one stalker attack? Yes, one stalker, literally one.
But can't you put it in a better spot than that? Like, this ring covers a lot. You can have it way more back, I feel, no?
Yeah, a bit further back. No, I'm sure he's going to try that again.
Yeah.
And now, not a single stalker can attack.
All right, so it does work in this... Oh, wait. Slight bit. There we go. Can a stalker hit it?
That's nice.
Oh.
If I'm Astrea, I would immediately build a Stargate now, because without a Stargate, you're just never going to kill that thing. What you could do, though, is take the gold. Astrea at this point, he's probably like, what the hell are you doing, MaSa? Why are you doing me like this? There is the Stargate. I really wouldn't hate it if he starts building just the gold, or starts long distance mining of the gold, because you can keep losing probes there. I'm actually really surprised that MaSa feels like he should move it. I like that spot.
Okay, I like this spot, though. This is an even better spot, no?
Yeah,
now,
so this is, yeah. He covers a few more mineral patches, but I think Astrea should just long distance mine of the gold. I don't know why all these probes are following the hallucinated Colossus, which I also don't understand completely anyway. But you can mine the gases, just long distance mine of the gold. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, I think long distance mining off the gold, like this is from our Warcraft 3 days, right? Where your main mine's out, you start long distance mining from a gold mine. It's awesome. But that poor Zealot, what did he ever do to you?
You can really see that. I don't know, mate. Astrea probably a bit flustered about the build that he was facing. Everything was looking totally fine for him. His hallucinated Colossus is going to expire. One Phoenix will finally come out, and that can take care of this Liberator. It's a real shame for MaSa that he lost one of those 2 libs so early on, because there was some potential. Now, the nice thing, I guess, is that he will have advanced ballistics for the rest of the game, and that's obviously a very good upgrade. That could definitely make a difference. Astrea, I feel like, is pretty upset about how all of this went, and now he wants to A-move into Marauders, Marines, and a couple of tanks. Through the depots, man, can it really work? Maybe with a couple of Archons?
I mean, it's risky, right? I actually think MaSa's got himself into a really good position with this weird, funky build, you know? Like, if these players were, quote-unquote, equal or, you know, fully practicing and stuff, I really like MaSa's situation, just to put into perspective how good I think it is. But this Warp Prism could cause a lot of trouble.
Yep, a couple of Zealots will show up in the main base. A few more Zealots will get warped in. And this could also be the moment that Astrea tries to make something happen with his main army. Now I do like the potential of Zealots, Archons, and Colossi here. A couple of Stalkers don't quite have Blink yet. He derps a little bit trying to get on top of the tanks. But in the end, the Immortal and Zealots will get on these tanks. He's maybe picked him off a bit quicker than he actually did. But it's still working out all right. Can we take out the bunker quickly too? The Colossus are very exposed. Astrea, I hope you're paying attention to that.
I mean, he wasn't paying enough attention. It's definitely got to be said. I mean, Astrea is definitely getting a worker lead from this, killing 28 SCVs, but this by no means was clean for the Protoss.
No, but the War Prism is still alive, and killing 28 SCVs is quite good. Let's not forget that Astrea is also getting +2, and Blink is ready to finish up. There is another Liberator being really annoying behind the 3rd base of Astrea. Welcome to NA, as advanced ballistics turn out to be very annoying to deal with. Where's that Phoenix? Didn't we have a Phoenix? Yeah.
We did, and he's working his way on over, but this 3rd Liberator of the game got its damage done, it's got to be said.
And another one. And now MaSa could actually make a push with like 3 or 4 Liberators with advanced ballistics. Obviously does not have that important +2 air weapons upgrade, but even without that, I mean, Libs is still Libs. And Astrea just lost a bunch of Stalkers. He's going to be forced to sacrifice his base for sure.
I'm actually really liking MaSa's position more and more, and this amount of Liberators as well. Like, you got to respect that. You really do. And the Colossus Falls get sniped down. MaSa, what has happened to MaSa this tournament? He should have quit playing years ago.
As well, the Liberators are pushing Astrea further and further back, who is going to try to make something happen with Zealots counterattacking, but MaSa left plenty of units at home to deal with that run by 2. Yeah, now things are starting to look really dire indeed for our Protoss favorite, who had a weird opening with a bunch of sentries, but that's not where it went wrong. Now he does have a couple of Stalkers again, blinks forward, picks off most of but one of the Liberators. You don't want to lose that Colossus too, but I'm afraid he is going to end up losing it. The final Marauder shot is good enough. Astrea cleans this up, but the second wave is on the way.
Astrea, how many Colossus have died this game? Like 3 or 4 or something? Astrea
least
also
4.
he never got thermal lance, Kevin. Like these Colossus
what?
Yeah, he just didn't get thermal lance. It's like no wonder these Colossus are getting close, like basically headbutting these units of the Terran. Like these are some massive mistakes from the Protoss.
I actually completely missed that. It's obviously been a long day. It's been a lot of casting this week. I did not see that Australia forgot one of the most important upgrades for his units. I was wondering why the Colossus looked so derpy against the tanks in the depot. I'm like, well, man, he really wants to get nice and close to these tanks. But I was like, whatever works for him. No thermal lens after making 4 Colossi is a bit painful. Australia is setting up another Zealot run-by. This time there are not that many bio units. What's up with Protoss getting literally only attack upgrades, by the way? What has Double Forge ever done to us?
I mean, he does have Double Forge, Kevin, and there the armor does start, but you know, got to get that +3 as fast as possible. But this fight in the middle, MaxPack's actually, or rather, MaSa, bloody hell, you got me going with the Double Forge talking. But MaSa actually does quite well in this middle fight.
Yep. Australia's gonna have a hard time keeping these Colossus alive without thermal lens. How many Colossus does he build before he realizes it?
I'm gonna go with 5.
But I mean, he has to...
He's got to realize in this fight, surely, because this Colossus is like, hey, why ain't it shooting? And he's like, aha, there we go.
Australia immediately fires it up. Still in serious trouble here, down 38 army supply. And MaSa still has the luxury of not just having a couple of Liberators here, but having Liberators with advanced ballistics. But he's also going to try to take the gold, but there are a couple of Stalkers on the other side of the map being really annoying. And this is a nice little hit spot by Astrea. Astrea is definitely not in any position to just lose 4 Stalkers to deal some economic damage.
No, especially if they're going to stick around here. And oh, MaSa going for the main. I'm liking it, man. I'm liking everything MaSa's bringing this game.
That's a very tiny recall, I gotta say, because these units were at the bottom of the ramp. But it does keep the main base safe, but Astrea did lose a few more units forward. Blink there, Astrea gets quite a few of these Marauders. I mean, MaSa is in an absolutely amazing spot. The big question is just, can he close it out? He did pull a bit of a Beyond here, where he gets +3 armor, but didn't get +3 attack. And as a Terran, I think we all agree that getting attack is a bit better than armor. Oh, that's so many Liberators!
Oh my goodness, 4 Liberators, but they're kind of behind enemy lines here almost, but now they're spreading as they want to. These Colossus still without Thermal Lance done, and they don't do good against some heavily upgraded Marauders.
Stalkers are about to get +3 though, so there is a little bit of an upgrade lead in that interaction. Australia is finally about to get extended Thermal Lens after losing 6 Colossus in total. Now the Liberators are not sieged up in the center, so the Stalkers get 1 kill. Looking for the double kill, not quite getting it. I mean, MaSa pretty much all but has this game in the bag. Now we just need to actually pull the trigger and wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, he's mining more than twice as much at this point. Like, he's done a really good job of expanding behind everything as well. Like, he's actually up to 5 bases here, Kev. Like, yes, his opening was really damn weird, but you can see the fundamentals behind it all have been pretty damn solid.
And let's not forget that he's also just going pure orbitals. It's like planetary fortresses. I mean, obviously, when I say that, he does build a PF at his 5th base. But the first 4 are all orbital. Stalkers are going to blink in. I feel like Astrea is just trying to pull MaSa back. Be like, MaSa, if I were you, I wouldn't try to end this game, man. Like, go ahead and take care of your economy. But MaSa is having none of that. He does want to end it, and he will end it off the back of some Liberators and advanced ballistics. And I gotta say, Ben, as a Terran player, if you would do that to a Protoss might think like, all right, if you want to go up against Stargate, that's how you're gonna go up against Stargate. And not just once, but probably every game from here on out. I don't think, you know, this was a build a long time ago, and I forgot the name of this map, but it was this weird, I always want to say space map, but then I realized that every map is a space map, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it was like this pocket expand, and when I used to live in America and I played a lot of NA ladder, there were a couple Terrans who would always open up like this when I would go Twilight, and I thought it was the worst thing in the world. But eventually, advanced ballistics lost 1 range, right? Like they reduced it by 1, and then the build kind of fell out of fashion. And on top of that, I just started building Phoenix every game, so then I don't really face it anyway. But these builds, that's a real blast from the past, but well done by MaSa.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because now I'm like, good luck to all the Protossers that aren't opening Stargate on the ladder for Blackburn for a while. Like, it's going to be a real fun one. Obviously, Stargate is a totally valid option these days. Maybe more a common opening as well. But yeah, I'm starting to look at all these other maps now. Like, what is MaSa going to start bringing to the table? And maybe more importantly, Astrea is also going to be like, you beat me with that? Like, I haven't played that before. What's he going to do in this series? Because MaSa's actually quite good at these series matches for this kind of reason.
Twistia 200 IQ perhaps so far. MaSa taking the 1-0 lead. I gotta say though, other than the fact that maybe you can say Australia gets a bit unlucky because he goes for a robo opening with a Twilight versus Advanced Ballistics, and that obviously doesn't bode that well. Besides that, I was also not that big of a fan of his opening in the first place. Like taking the double gas, all the sentries, no scout whatsoever other than the hallucinated phoenixes. That is so risky if this man decides to proxy you. And if anyone is capable of a proxy, it has to be this Canadian Terran. In the top right side, taking the 1-0 lead here in the North American playoffs. Representing Storm Gaming, it is MaSa.
And spawning over in the bottom left of 2K Atmosphere, representing Alpha X, it is Astrea. I want to hit on something you said, Kevin, because you talked about how Astrea got a bit unfortunate with his opening, but he kind of, like, I don't necessarily know what his opening was really good against. Because sure, it's unfortunate, but what bit was unfortunate? That he came up with that build in the first place? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think Astrea, in a straight-up game, if he just went with some clean build that we all know he can do, I would always put him ahead against MaSa. And I think, like, say if you did some of these 4-gate Blink Stalker builds or anything like that we've seen to much effect, and your opponent's invested in, like, a fusion core, getting Liberators to harass you and stuff, well, he'd be massively dead. I think Astrea kind of, well, I don't want to say crumbled on the build, but I don't. Sometimes people get ahead of themselves, I feel.
Okay, I think his build would be very good against barracks, fast expand, 2 additional barracks, so 3 racks of 2 bases. I think his build would be very... What do you mean?
Like Blackburn, that is a bad map for 3 racks, I feel.
Yeah, well, that doesn't stop you against me.
Well, that's because it's you, Kev. I know that it's going to be a Stargate 9 times out of 10, and the other 10th time there's a proxy nexus on the other side of the map. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree with you. It's obviously not the best map out there, especially not if you want to attack a 2-base pro. If it would be 3-base, and it's not too bad, because then there is still some wide open area, but you're right, going up the ramp. I don't really know. Maybe Astrea had something very cool in mind where he could hit a devastating timing with a couple of Colossus and then a buttload of force fields, because obviously these sentries would gather up a lot of energy. He should technically be ready for just a regular Widow Mine opening because he can follow. It's a bit of the idea that we sometimes see in PvP, where you can hallucinate a Phoenix and put it on top of an Oracle if you don't have any flying units yourself. And in that way, you can keep track of the Oracle. Maybe Astrea's idea was to spam a bunch of hallucinated units and keep track of medevacts that would be floating around.
Could be. And I mean, if you... we can theorize about that build all day, like we really can. This game, though, MaSa opted for an expansion, but he's also going into a 3cc before any sort of tech, like a factory and such. So a really, really greedy build by him. Very different pace of build as well. MaSa definitely playing the series.
Yep. One adept does make it into the back of the natural. Gets first blood. Kind of like that by MaSa there, trying to do a little bit of treasure hunting with these 3 Marines, trying to get lucky, catch the Shade. Unfortunately for him, Astrea went in a different direction, but obviously the Shade has less vision than the Marines, so there are moments where MaSa could absolutely catch it.
The more I watch Astrea, the more I know that this guy loves his sentries, man. I know that first game was one thing, and I've seen him do some funky builds in PvP where he ends up with a ton of them real fast. But yeah, this sentry was really early, but it did give him enough minerals to get his 3rd base super damn early here, going for a 2-gate Blink build with a Robo after the 3rd goes up.
Still pretty early. I mean, it's before the 4-minute mark.
It's super early. Like, that's what I'm saying. The Nexus is really early.
Okay.
What do you think is that?
I tell you, like, he didn't get it. I'm pretty sure you said he didn't get it super early.
Oh, I was saying, like, because he got the sentry and not like extra stalkers, because like it saved him up some minerals, right? Like not getting the stalkers and getting the sentry instead, which is definitely a funny way of doing it. But now he has this scout out as well before the robo, so now he can kind of like choose what to do with his observer when he gets it, I suppose, which is it's kind of neat. And it's greedy, but it's nice and safe at the same time. I do like Astrea's builds, man, when they do pan out.
Yeah, no, this game, it just makes sense. Gets a good scout off here. He knows that MaSa is going to have late access to those medevacs because he opened up with a triple CC and he's pumping out a lot of bio units. This could still get a little bit dicey because even if MaSa may not be as sharp as he once upon a time was, even though what does that really mean? Because he's playing, I don't want to say the tournament of his life, but he's having one hell of a run so far. He is going to have a buttload of units with a lot of firepower. Stim is finishing up, Combat Shield is on the way, and Astrea is going to spread himself thin over 3 bases. He's getting a Robo Bay now and a Forge after opening up with Blink. Like, there is absolutely a world where Astrea makes one boo-boo and then gets absolutely steamrolled by a big pack of bio units.
Yeah, I just want to go on that hallucinated Phoenix earlier. As soon as he saw that he was against 3CC 3 racks, boom, he went into a Colossus like a Robo Bay and stuff. So his build's definitely good and lined up quite nicely. But now MaSa, pouncing like a tiger, uses a stim, but doesn't really get much done. But he does have pretty fast medevacs with this, it's got to be said.
Astrea fires up the first Colossus. I know that I'm going to zoom in on that Robotics Bay.
What are you seeing, Kev? Because I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it yet.
He's gonna. There's no way that he would ever forget it 2 games in a row.
Oof. There we go. There we go. Making good sure about it this time. Because sometimes, you know, you can get up to 2 Colossi or start your second Colossi, then start it. But after a game like that where you don't start it until your 6th Colossus is dead, well, yeah, you just want to make sure after that.
You know, it's really funny. Sometimes I think back of the glory days of Wings of Liberty, and I remember that Sase and Soccer had this 200 IQ build where they would open up with 1 Colossus and not get thermal lens. And then the Terran would make 18 Vikings, and then they would show up with 9 High Templars with Storm. And we're like, oh my god, this is the best play we've ever seen. And that really was proper high-level play in the early days.
I mean, I think that'd still be high-level play now, but you tend to find that Terrans kind of skip on Vikings now because Colossus obviously aren't quite as good now as they used to be. Colossus used to be so freaking scary, man. You had to prepare for them before they came out in every way, shape, or form.
MaSa has 2 medevacs on the left side, picks up one of these spotting pylons. Astrea now knows that there is a threat that he does get dropped. Now MaSa could also sync up all his units and just pounce for the natural, throws down a scan. This is a bit scary for Astrea here, who moved his units out of position. He does have a lot of stalkers coming. Is he going to forward Blink? Ooh, he shot at his own Cybercore. I'm actually really surprised that the Twilight Council is still being powered by that other pylon, but it will be for now. And Astrea gets a relatively convincing cleanup in the main, but he does lose quite a few stalkers too.
Yeah, granted, he cleaned it up and he didn't really have much delay on anything, but definitely lost a lot of stalkers doing it, which they're pretty pricey. But Astrea taking this time to kind of march across the map on the right side, and this game, I mean, this is already a much better situation for the Protoss.
Yep, MaSa is going to send another drop towards the main though, and this one could absolutely have some potential. I like what Astrea is doing with a couple of hallucinated Phoenixes. He's going to drag Widow Mines above the mineral line, but his Colossi are a bit exposed, and while this is happening, there is that drop in the main base. Astrea may be getting a bit too carried away here, even though he's going to win this fight. Dealing with the army in his main could become a bit annoying. He's going to lose power to a lot of these gates, man.
I'm actually getting a bit scared for Astrea here, man. Like, granted, his army at the front is really good, and he'll probably deal a lot of damage, but he has to be careful. This is where he's focusing, though. Blink into the Widowmine shot isn't the greatest. MaSa dealing quite a bit of damage in this main, and it's going to be very hard to stop this army. I think he might have to recall. Oh, a Colossus will definitely help.
A Colossus will help. Astrea does still have quite some money in the bank as one medevac does get picked up in the main. Astrea still attacking on the other side of the map. He has a War Prism. The Colossi shooting at that depot. That's not what you want to be shooting at all. He could pull off some fancy Colossus micro. My goodness, Astrea made this kind of hard and close, but he does still come out on top, especially if he can just repower his gateways so he can start spending his money. But that really looked a bit dicey for a split second with the Widow Mines and the turrets and everything.
Yeah, not just for a split second. It looked like it maybe could have went totally against him here. The Warp Prism micro has been very clean from Astrea, though, it's got to be said. Like, his Colossus, 16 kills, 18 kills apiece. Astrea ties it up.
Well, a minute and a half ago, I was starting to believe that Twitch was truly something special. And MaSa was going to take a 2-0 lead. I was like, if he pumps out 2 more Vikings, he kills the Colossus, then you can deal with those leftover Stalkers with a couple of Marauders and STPs. And if that army in his main base doesn't get stopped because he's unpowering all the gateways, could have been very problematic. Gotta say, Astrea is feeling a little wild so far, Ben.
It's not exactly the well put together Astrea that I'm used to seeing, you know. And I would love to hear his inner voice at what he's telling himself going through this series, because it just seems a little chaotic. Like it really does. It's that first game on Blackburn, definitely weird in every way, shape, and form. Both builds were unusual. The second game, that coulda, shoulda looked a bit tidier from him. It's I mean, MaSa is a hard opponent to go up against just because he is a bit wild and stuff. And these two builds that he's chosen, they require very specific counters and stuff. But yeah, Astrea's making it a bit difficult for himself. It's got to be said.
Game 3 is going to be played on Oxide, and we'll see if Astrea can start delivering that convincing performance that us casters expected. I don't want to say all of us, because Twitch had clearly disagreed with us that it was going to be very close. So far, they are a whole lot more right than we are, that's for sure. But there is no man overboard yet for Astrea, who has never failed to make it into the top 3 of the DreamHack Masters NA. Has obviously won it once, got a couple of second places, I believe, as well. Over the year 2020, was actually the best performing player of the 3, because I believe they all won it once, but he made it to the final 3 times, I think. So he actually did pretty well.
So the last one was the one that he didn't make the finals, right? Because we had Scarlet in the Group A and then Neeb in Group D. Yeah, that was like his worst performance, I guess, but still 3rd place, definitely not too shabby at all. But yeah, I believe you, Kev. You've got a beautiful brain when it comes to remembering these things.
Sometimes. Let's see what Oxide has in store for us. Wouldn't be surprised if Astrea decides to open things up with a Stargate, even though some pros players, they just don't like playing Stargate against Terran, and that's okay. Some of them just don't believe in the Phoenix, and some of them will say, whenever I open Oracle, I always fly into a Widowmine, and I am definitely in touch with that emotion. But let's go ahead and see what this magnificent man has in store for us in the top right side. Tying things up, representing Alpha X, it is Astrea.
And spawning her in the bottom left, representing System Gaming, it is MaSa. Going to be fun to see what they both bring to the table. Astrea went for a super fast pylon and gateway, right? Kind of looks a bit weird, like the timing, because it feels like he should have more probes than he does. And given that he's going for a second gas, it does feel
Void
like
Race.
it. You think it's Void Race?
I don't know, it could be. Or it's a Sentry build of Game 1. Now, when I used to see this, I'd be like, this is going to be Void Race. But now with Astrea, I'm like, this could very well be the double gas Sentry expand build.
You know, when I see the 12 gate in the future, I'm like, oh, he's doing it, man. The double Sentry build, it's freaking amazing. Instant loss against the Liberator opening.
Yeah, then again, how often are you going to go up against the Liberator opening?
I mean,
well, that probe is definitely heading towards a Stargate location. It could also just be a very quick Oracle trying to deal some economic damage and play macro behind it. I feel like normally if we proxy Void Ray, we do it on the low ground, but maybe he just wants to do it on the high ground and then build another pylon on the low ground, and that's where he will start building batteries. No matter how you spin it, man, I think we are going full NA in this one.
I think so. And MaSa, he's like, you know what? You haven't. He scouts the base and he's like, I'm not going to go for a CC on the low ground, which I think is obviously the correct move in this situation. Keeps on building Marines, and I think he'll spot this Stargate, unless his SV just has a heart attack right now, but no, we'll spot it.
Really early, actually. It's a proper early scout, but this target is so far away that You might ask yourself, like, should he pull SCVs? No. He could definitely send out a Marine and try to get lucky. Killing a probe is already so nice, and he is going to get that first probe kill. And now they can actually get the bunker up. Now, Astrea did make a Zealot and an Adept. The Zealot is going to run into the main base of the Terran. This is definitely not looking all that hot for Astrea at this point. I think he's going to have a super hard time getting anything out of this Stargate, Ben.
I actually think so too, Kev. And he's supply blocked.
Oh my god.
What? Oh my god. What is happening?
And he's gonna lose his pylon too, so he's not just gonna be supply blocked once, he's gonna be supply blocked twice. So it's like, God, you never wanted it anyway, man. Just gonna expand. Joke's on you. No, you can't get into the main base. Another bunker. The Marines are obviously inside of that bunker. And a Zealot and a Adept definitely have potential to deal some economic damage. We may not understand it, but we will appreciate it. You know, this is still gonna turn into a good opening for Astrea. That entire Stargate was a fake.
This is great. I love it. I love that he got a tech lab on the factory too, and then he's like, you know what, I'm going to get a Hellion out of it, not a Cyclone. This is just, I love it. I love it. Now, obviously, getting the Hellion, it builds a lot faster, and it will deal damage to these light units and stuff.
Just so many SCVs are low on HP. A couple of them one shot, one more low HP, one in the refinery. Astrea did try to get it, did not quite get it. Now, MaSa may have double orbital, but he is down 12 workers. The only thing that's a bit awkward for Astrea is that obviously the Twilight tech is going to be a bit late, but this was one hell of a save of a proxy Stargate, man.
I actually think it was very well handled by MaSa. Like, the thing is, the players that I play against, when Max Pax does something like this, he builds the Stargate far closer. So the Zealot doesn't have the choice of whether to go back for the Stargate or, you know, to deal damage. You just go near where your Stargate is, and it allows you to get up shield batteries and stuff. You don't need to move the probe into a position to put forward a forward pylon as well. You know what I mean? Just makes it a bit easier.
Yeah, but I gotta say, MaSa did scout it very early, and that helps a lot.
Yeah, and also his reaction was really cute too. Like, the SCV kind of ran around to then make a bunker when the Zealot already kind of committed to the main. It was cool, right?
We do have that one Hellion that helped out at home defending against the Adept, now driving into the natural of Astrea, and I believe it got one kill there, unless I am mistaken. Yeah, 2 probes have gone down so far in this game. It feels that MaSa is gearing up for a big Marine tank Banshee attack, where maybe we pull a couple SCVs as well, and we start building some bunkers. Right when I say that, he moves over the factory. Is he still going to move out? No, he's just going to chill.
So I think you're onto something here, Kev, because what's his setup? He's up to 2 barracks here, 1 factory, 1 starport. He's obviously getting Banshees as well with Cloak, which is pretty damn unusual. It's not like the most common opening, and he is going for a move out here. It's all very unusual.
It's very tiny. The move out is very tiny. And Blink is done, and that means that this Cyclone is really not going to be very impactful. Astrea blinks forward, and he's like, all right, it's not just a Cyclone, it's a couple of Marines too. But how much more is there really to it? The answer is not that much. Astrea is going to have a field day one-shotting these Marines. Does lose another Stalker, so it's not the cleanest of cleanups so far, but if he gets the tank here too, you're still going to be very happy with all of this. If your name is Astrea, I'm going to take a look at where that Banshee is at. Oh, Banshee's in the main base. That has a lot of potential. No shield battery. And there is one observer on the map, but the observer's on the other side of the map. This Banshee could get so many kills, but you don't want to lose it before Cloak is ready. Oh, wow. It's still a good Banshee, but could have been better.
It could have been way better, right? Like, I know there's another observer popping out now, but oh no. Yeah. This is the most glorious 3 Stalker hit squad of all time.
Now we're all tied up in workers, and Astrea is still on 2 bases. So that's normally not a scenario that you're incredibly in love with as a Protoss. But even though MaSa connected that barracks to the tech lab a long time ago, you remember when he did a little swap-rule with the factory? Never started any of the upgrades, and now he starts Combat Shield. But that also means he won't have Stim until like minute 9 in this game.
Super weird. So he's actually going up to not like 5 or 3 barracks, he's going up to 4, which is a very special number, Kev, because this is kind of like a very in-between, and Astrea looks like he's having none of this game so far.
Drops a couple of force fields, does still have this one observer on this side of the map, and that means that the last Cloak Banshee is going to be in a bit of trouble too. A lot of these SCVs are zoned away from these Marines. And these Marines, they won't have stim for a long time. We do have another tank on the high ground, and that could absolutely keep MaSa safe, at least a little bit there. He's going to be forced to move it forward. Will Astrea go for it? The answer is no. Doesn't quite have the right amount of units. Good job keeping that Banshee alive, by the way. It's super low on HP.
Yeah, I'm questioning what MaSa, like, the combat shields first over the stim. It's such a weird choice considering everything else in this game. Now he's actually making a 5th barracks, one of them on the tech lab that he had there as well. I think it was just I think it was an error of judgment. I can't see him doing that purposefully.
Stalkers do blink into the main base and I get the Banshee. I think I'm with you too. I think when he moved out, he expected to, or he probably thought he started stim, but then he was forced to micro because he ran into those Stalkers with his Cyclone, and then maybe he just completely forgot about it. Astrea has now created a very sweet 17 worker advantage and is throwing down 5 extra gates and getting Storm at the same time. It is safe to say that the world is his oyster, but this is also another replay that I would put in my replay pack, where I'm like, how to dismantle a Terran.
I do like the choice of Storm, though, this game, because very often I see players being like, oh, it's tanks? Yeah, I'll go into Colossus. And it's like, that's the one thing that Terran kind of want you to do when they go tanks, or like, you know, big Stalker compositions and stuff. But the one thing that really owns this comp, well, High Templar, Charge Lots, Archons, it's all the kind of stuff you don't want to go. So Astrea making the correct call here on his army comp, I think.
The most annoying thing is that Stim is still not done. And it's going to take a little while before it actually is ready. And that means that killing this Prism is almost impossible. MaSa is making his way to the other side of the map. It's not the biggest army I've ever seen for an almost 10-minute game. We do have a couple of tanks there. But I really think that if Astrea just warps in 5 more Zealots with charge, he could A-move this. A good Storm or 2 will definitely help. I mean, Ben, bunkers going up on the other side of the map is definitely your territory. Let's feel that.
What are you bringing me into this for? I mean, this game is a me game, honestly. This reminds me of me versus Bling, but Astrea is going for it. The Stalkers kind of block everything else on that side, but the High Templars, the Storms, are pretty damn decent. In fact, there's like 5 Storms on the same spot, and MaSa, well, his supply just got halved, Kevin.
It vanished. The bunkers did not go up. We did queue up a Liberator, but Astrea is just a little bit too far ahead. The first Zealot and the first 2 Adepts honestly put Astrea in an amazing spot. And at that point, it was always going to be a very difficult game for MaSa. I really wonder how this game would have played out if Cloak would have been 3 seconds quicker and he would have been able to cloak that first Banshee. Because then Astrea has to choose. Either you wait until you build a second Ops, means you're gonna lose 5 or 6 extra probes there because there was no battery, or he recalls that observer, but that also means he can't be aggressive anymore, and then MaSa could maybe just do his build. Like, I don't think it was looking great for MaSa, but there was maybe some potential when Astrea was still on 2 bases.
I mean, there absolutely was chances. Like, this game was just a slugfest in every way, shape, or form. Like, the reactor getting killed, those units getting into the main anyway, and like your bunker being on the left side of the map next to a Stargate. Like, this was a great NA game. I loved every bit about it. Guys and girls, we're going to go to a short break and we'll find out who comes out the victor in this wacky series. Howdy, howdy. This is the phrase that I used the other day, and Kevin absolutely loved it. So, yeah, here we are. Fourth game of the series between MaSa and Astrea. We're getting right on into it. We'll be romanticide to kick things off. And if you've just tuned in, well, this has not been a normal series.
It's been a pretty normal for NA standards. Maybe not if you're for NA, yeah.
Yeah, you mean the good old proxy fusion core opening with Liberator range? I don't think that's even normal for NA, Kev.
Even for NA, it's pretty normal, man.
I mean, bunker rushing a Stargate that's proxying you, I think that's also quite fun, but anyhow.
That's pretty standard, though. That's a good defense of dealing with a proxy Stargate. It's just unfortunate.
Actually, it's really good defense, yeah. Spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, as our blue Protoss, it is Astrea.
The man who said, once upon a time at this broadcast, we may be clowns in NA, but we are very powerful clowns. Well, those are Astrea words, not mine. In the top left side, we're looking at the main base of our Canadian Terran, down 1-2. Can they turn it around? It is MaSa.
Did Astrea really say that?
Yep. He said, just because I called a couple of games a clown fiesta. And then he said, during an interview once, he's like, rather than you may call us clowns, but I want you to know that we are very powerful clowns, okay? And that is something when I think the season finals were taking place online back then. It was kind of fun.
I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, you gotta embrace it sometimes. Like, some of these games can be clowny. And it's also got to be said, the best of NA, they're actually a real force to be reckoned with. Like the Astrea, Scarlet, Neeb, and MaSa this tournament, honestly, he's been wild as well. Getting to the top four here, taking out players such as Disc and Namshar along the way. He's been playing great StarCraft.
Yep. I mean, I've been really getting excited as well over, or I've been getting proper excited over a couple of the NA players. Like Disc, I think, has been getting better throughout time. Nina is just still always very fun to watch, and I thought her PvPs this tournament were very high level. And generally been impressed by MaSa, even though his games are not clean, you know, it's not like it's very streamlined, but he does have a couple of cool builds, and he still has the killer instinct, and you can see that some of these core mechanics, he just never really forgets about them. Now, this game is actually starting off in a very normal manner, Ben. One gateway, fast expanded, that being chrono boosted out. I almost want to be that guy in the back of the classroom and be like, boring. Where is my proxy something, you know what I mean?
I hated that kid in the back of the classroom, Kev. I was like, I get my spitball out and be like, shut up, you know, like calm it down. But yeah, this game, okay, whoa. There you go, Kevin. There you go. There you go. Hey, kid in the back, shut your mouth. Look, it's a proxy factory going down over here.
Yep, and it's the second. It's not just the first factory. There's a factory at home, and this is the second factory. Now, it always reminds me of the game that, or the strategy that Juanito used once upon a time, where you just show up with like 5 siege tanks, right? It's actually proper powerful. Now, of course, it could be for a bunch of cyclones too, but I would love to see that second factory being used for proxy siege tank.
Yeah, I'm actually super curious because I think you might be right, Kev. I think this might turn up with a lot of tanks, and this would be super cool.
Yeah, it's very cool, and it really could work. Whoa, that adept shade actually finishes up. That means that this adept is going to fall. It does get 1 kill. What did Astrea see with his adept?
Oh, no.
They didn't see anything. The Stalk a little bit misrallied. Marine's getting a lot of shots off. Mate, this is actually so dicey for Astrea, because once you go up against a build like this, every unit counts. MaSa does have a tech lab. Is that going to be a siege tank too? I really hope it is, and it should be. You know, the Intel Extreme Masters tournament we had in South Korea back then, the one that Scarlet won, Special had a build like this, and he actually used it on Backwater, I think. Now, this is really good scouting by Astrea, but at this point, once you scout this, right, what is even the correct response? Because I really don't know.
I think the Immortal's a great move. Like, I think it's a super damn great move, and maybe a couple of shield batteries at the front. How many does he have? He's actually making 1 and a very forward pylon with it, which is a bit unusual, but we'll see, because Blink isn't done yet. I think Astrea so far looks pretty solid against it, and just he's slowing it down a lot, right?
Yeah. That is the most important thing. You don't just want to sit at home and receive this and let the tank siege up in the range of your battery. You want to buy some time. I would love to see a second Immortal immediately, because I do agree that the Immortal is a great call. It's very nice to have on this early on. MaSa throws down a scan, and he's obviously not happy to see Big Daddy Immortal. Immortal is actually kind of indecisive here whether or not he wants to commit, but one tank did get picked off. But we can't lose all the units to kill one tank, Ben, because it's double factory, and that means that the tank count will get up.
Absolutely. I think Astrea kind of misjudged the situation a little bit. I want to see another battery or two, Kev, because the juice has gone entirely. Oh, okay, super battery, that's good, but that's a ballsy blink. That second Immortal, or rather the first Immortal, is running in. I think this is shut down pretty hardcore.
This was actually very well done by Astrea. He made this look easy. While it's honestly easy to panic against this and may not necessarily have the optimal response, I actually think he handled this really well. Now the factory is going away. That bunker is still being completed, by the way, so there is at least a bunker going up on the high ground. Well done by Astrea.
That bunker's what I was giggling about, and yeah, he does salvage it now. Has to be careful though, like, you know, just because he held this off doesn't mean he can just run across the map and kill him. But I like everything else that he's doing, because he's got this Immortal now. The Stalkers are joining up, getting a third base as well. He's just being safe and solid here. Oh, I say that, and he jumps in like a madman.
Yeah, but he does get two tanks, and the other tank is obviously in a very awkward spot. Now, it may actually stay alive, because the SCVs are going to push these Protoss units towards the top side, and actually that Immortal does fall too. Astrea misblinks there, but the Stalker will stay alive. Another Immortal being rallied up this ramp. It just really wants to kill that tank, and with a bit of help from the Blink Stalker, it will kill the tank. Two more Stalkers coming in from the high ground. There are no tanks out on the map, by the way.
I mean, that's when you know you're not in the best situation, when your main production is 2 factory tanks. You haven't got 1 tank out. Oh my god, that Immortal.
6 safe.
Wait, is the flank tank flank gonna happen though? I mean, guess not.
You mean this tank that's gonna rally? But by the time that this tank is out, the Immortal will have its barrier again. And Astrea doesn't need to be super aggressive, but then you look at the army of MaSa, and he's got 2 tanks, but 1 tank actually getting...
Oh.
Astrea has no idea. Astrea did see it. Now he finds that second factory too, even though he already found it once. But he finds it twice in the same game.
That factory, I mean, factories on Romanticide, Kevin, they've been getting spotted here, and then the Max Backs versus Marine Lord game. Those chunky boys.
Was that a factory tour, or was it... Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In the north.
I was thinking of the Clem series, Clem against Max Packs. I was like, that was a starport, but no, that was indeed a factory in that earlier PvT. We've seen quite a few PvTs today.
We've seen a lot of games today. Like, DreamHack really spoils us with the amount of games that they put out, because, you know, I was just thinking, how many games have we gone through over this DreamHack in total? Like 8 players per group, and then we're here in the bracket stage, which is also a ton of games. That being said, just to get back to this game a little bit, I love this super fast 4th base from Astrea, especially when he knows he's done a lot of crippling damage.
I've got the answer for you, Ben. Across all regions in the DreamHack Masters, it's
700 and... Oh, was it 800?
I think 872.
Oh, sugar.
Oh, that was the previous season. But this season, we had so many close series, so many 3-2s, 2-3s, that I think we're reaching 800 and something maps. But I guess we're not totally done yet. Anyway, back to the reality of this game is that MaSa is still producing 2 tanks at a time, and he's just going to play some good old Marine tank for now. There is a starport, so he could start producing a couple of medevacs. Meanwhile, Astrea is not going up to just 4 bases, but he's even going up to 5 bases. And this is the kind of game where I feel like Astrea could easily get up to like 14 gateways and just spam gateway units for days. And he's got double forge. We haven't seen double forge spinning at the same time this early into the game all day.
That is absolutely true.
Double Templar Archives too, Benjamin.
I love NA, man. Like, this is some great gaming. To quote my favorite gaming team, did that Warp Prism die? No, it is somewhere in the north. In the dead airspace. Before Astrea became like super good, by the way, he used to be like the 20 gateway guy. Like, I remember playing him a lot on ladder. This is back when I used to play on NA. And yeah, he'd always be that guy that just made a ton of them.
Made for some very entertaining games, even in the War Chess Team League, which is quite some time ago now, but I know you have very fond memories of it. Astrea had a couple of wild games too. It's even getting War Prism speed here. So obviously a flashy upgrade. I think Astrea knows that he is not just in a good spot, but he's in an absolutely amazing spot. And the world is kind of his Protoss oyster. Do you think MaSa is gonna pull the boys, or do you think there is a world where he actually tries to get 2-2 upgrades and a Ghost Academy?
Well, you're asking me, how do I think he's going to die, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. What kind of choice can he make here? Because I'm looking at Astrea. I just looked at his vision. He's actually making pylons absolutely everywhere, Kev.
Couple of Marines are going to fight the Stalkers as this War Prism will die with one Zealot inside of it. MaSa picks off 1 or 2 Stalkers, but loses 7 or 8 Marines in the process. Astrea's like, whoa, that's a lot of tanks. MaSa's got a really good TVT army.
Yeah, and look at that production tab. That's a TVT production tab if I've ever seen one. This is really weird. I remember for a while, Terrans thought mass tank was the way. Oh, I mean, that is a ton of tanks, though. Astrea actually has to be careful with his army, right? Right?
Yes, he does. This army of Astrea is not big enough to win, but maybe with the extra Zealots coming in from the top, even though there are still a couple of Marines going strong. Yeah, that was an ugly fight if I've ever seen an ugly fight. It's also a little bit unnecessary to fight up the ramp when you're at 6 bases versus a 3-base Terran. Astrea probably thinking like, well, I'm far enough ahead to justify this. And in a way he is, but he can't do that again because he is down 40 army supply now. And the Zealot count is actually really not that high, and Archons are not that great against 8 tanks, because they could very well pop like balloons before they even get in range.
Kevin, I actually think MaSa kind of has a chance here, man. Like, he actually has a chance. And, I mean, these Zealots are absolutely going to have to put in a lot of work here. They are putting in a lot of work, though, and MaSa having to retreat, but these tanks are his power. Wait, Astrea really dirt there with a lot of his Zealots.
Yeah, a lot of the tanks did get picked off though, and don't forget that Astrea has reinforcements 4 days, and I felt that those extra Marines of MaSa just showed up a split second too late. Let's not forget about the upgrades. Astrea has 2 upgrades ahead. These were some absolute silly fights. I can't really put it any other way. MaSa is going to try one more time, but it's safe to say that he was the one-punch man in this game. If those extra Marines, man, would have been there a few seconds earlier, and he would have been able to reduce the Zealot count one more time, then I absolutely believed. But now I think we have missed our window.
Say it so sadly, Kevin.
Yeah, because this would have been another absolutely outrageous victory. I love that MaSa is dropping a command center now. Like, this is the kind of game where it's like, maybe you can just take another base. I guess he really has no idea that Astrea doesn't just have 4 bases, but it's actually up to 6, going up to 7, and it's just very, very rich.
Yeah, I mean, Astrea, like, he's dominating this game. Like, not necessarily through taking good fights, but the economic game. 94 probes to 61 SCVs. MaSa, he's holding on, because if he loses this map, he is out, unfortunately for him. But he's had more than a great run this tournament, honestly.
Yep. This is a beautiful engagement from Astrea as he's coming in from multiple angles. This time the Zealot will... Oh no, MaSa's shooting at the rocks. I don't think it really would have made the difference, but Marines and tanks shooting at the rocks are absolutely not going to help when you've got a ton of Zealots coming in from the top and bottom at the same time. GG. Astrea wins